Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Ladies with Tradies, how to stop shit hitting the fan in love, life and business. Today we have the wonderful Mitch from ENVISION Landscapes, who is partnered by Raine, who's very busy with their little baby, so she's going to pop in and out as she can. Really excited to talk to Mitch today about this month's topic, which is boundaries. Boundaries are something that tradies waver on occasionally, and it's generally because they're really frigging good blokes. And so what we've noticed in Mitch and Raine's business since they've started working with Ladies with Tradies is they've just got better and better at going through this process. In particular, it's been great to watch Mitch get back control of his time and do some really amazing things from a systems perspective so that he's really firm in his own boundaries and getting what he wants from his business in order to support him and his beautiful partner Raine and their new baby Max. So welcome, guys. How are we going?
Pretty good, Kate. How are you?
Well, cannot complain. So we always start with getting to know you a little bit, guys. So tell us a bit about, give us your business name, where you're located, how long you've been in business, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so my name's Mitch, and we ENVISION Landscapes has been running for a good 10 years now. I've been qualified for 15, so in the trade for 20. But I'd say over the last maybe 5 years, we've really put our heads down and decided this is where we want to be, for the remainder of our career. I've been really fortunate with Raine jumping on board and helping with some behind the scenes things that, with social media and some really talented photography. So yeah, she makes our work look amazing.
She's just smiling Riley there. And so where are you guys, and tell us about your team?
So we live in southwest Sydney, but all of our work is generally up in the north. So about 10 years ago as well, I was fortunate enough to make some really good contacts, and we've established a really good word of mouth referral base since that point. So without any real advertising, it's been awesome. I've got a 2-man team, so 2 guys full time, an apprentice and a tradesman. So we work as a 3-man duo, 3-man team. It works really well for the projects that we take on. I found 4 wasn't the right number. 3 is incredibly well for where we're at this stage. Raine helps with a lot of the admin stuff as well. So yeah.
Typing up documents.
Yeah. A lot of the sales back end stuff that we did Raine had a huge part in that.
Beautiful. I can't wait to hear more about that, because that's been a big part of why you've been selected to talk about boundaries, you guys, because sales process and finding the right clients is very much about boundaries. So that's really cool. So Raine, you haven't been in the business forever, have you? That's a pretty new thing.
We're coming up to our 4-year anniversary, and it was when I met Mitch, he was still subbing.
Yeah.
And it was about 6 months to a year after we got together that he went full-time running the business.
I guess as a trader, you have the luxury of being able to step in and out, whereas other businesses or industries might be all in and then not be able to flexibly move back and forth. So that was a real key to us being able to stay in the game until we knew we were ready to go for it.
And we encourage, if you're a sole trader out there who might have a casual working for you here or there, that's a really good way to establish a good boundary for yourselves too, because people just grow too big too quick often. And I know when my Jace was going through that process that you guys just discussed there, that subcontractor part-time plus doing your own jobs part-time, and it's when's the time to jump? When do I take that leap of faith? I've been the subbing things like a warm cozy blanket, because that the work's guaranteed, but if I go to do my own business full time, it can be pretty scary. So good on you for taking that leap when you did. And
I feel like I should take the opportunity to say, when I was an apprentice, I was very hungry to get out on my own, and I was doing quite a lot of weekend work.
Yeah.
And in the final year of my apprenticeship, as I was getting close to the final completion, I'd built up a few months of private work. So I went out the day after I was qualified. I went out on my own, and I had 3 months worth of work lined up.
Oh, you were that apprentice. Very good on you.
Yeah.
Well, I love that tenacity.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, and that's a lot of what we've seen with you guys and in your success. You just go get it. So that's pretty cool. So Raine, sorry, back. You've been in the business with Mitch how long now?
3 years.
Yeah.
About 3 years ago, I started helping.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when we started with the coaching, that was 2 years ago.
Mm.
And I've just slowly built up.
Taken on more of a role. Yeah.
So when did you officially resign from your employed role?
I haven't. I'm on maternity leave.
You are too. That's right.
And still thinking about what my future holds.
Cool. And look, it's good to have options, isn't it? Because you can go back to work after maternity leave, or just reassess where ENVISION's at too. So
yeah, we had that chat very early on about you didn't want to be involved in the books, and I certainly didn't want to put any pressure on taking on something that would just be boring.
Yeah, I wouldn't be keen either, Raine. Awesome. All right, guys. So let's get into the questions, shall we? Around boundaries. So, the team. I went to the team and I said, "Girls, radio, which one of our tradie businesses does this boundaries thing really well?" And there was almost a unanimous, "Oh, definitely Mitch." And then, so we've just all come back from our 2022 Ladies with Tradies shindig in Mildura, and we had a panel where the clients all picked 3 tradies that they wanted to hear more from, and they wanted to hear more from Mitch and around his sales process, which we are certainly going to hear more about. So that's why we picked you, Mitch, because we were like, no, he's done a good job to really kind of be clear about what he wants and what he doesn't want, with the active support of you, Raine. So that's been pretty cool. So when you kind of decide for yourself what boundaries you are putting in, Mitch, what sorts of things are you taking into account? How are you deciding what boundaries are important to you?
Well, I guess it all just comes down to time management. So what do we want to get out of each day? So there was a time where it was just all about getting the job done.
Mm-hmm.
So just solely working in the business and prioritizing that the highest. We've shifted more to at least one day in the office every week. So typically it's Tuesday, even finding that one's not quite enough, and maybe another half day would be great. So there's a good boundary there to make sure that we've got enough time to spend working on the business and staying on top of our the things that we pride ourselves on, turnaround of quotes and customer communication. And it can be a little bit hard to upkeep that if you just focus on getting the job done.
So you were typical kind of tradie. The main aim of the game is to smash the job out as quickly as possible.
Forget to take photos and just rip in and get it done.
Yep. So you just got it done. That's awesome. So did something shift? Like, what happened where you were like, well, that's not going to get me where I want to get? Like, how did you decide that you had to prioritize your time better?
Well, I think I vividly remember at the beginning when it was to take an office day, there was this fight of I'm going to lose a day's pay. Like, if I'm not on site, I'm not going to be making money, and the business will come to a bit of a grinding halt. There will be less progress if I've got guys there in my absence. No one can get it done as quickly as I would if I was there. So now it's
Mitch, just so you know, all the classics that you're not alone on.
It's really shifted now. Like, I'm excited and I look forward to the day in the office because I think about what I can get done. I get up at like 4 if I can, and I start really early, and then I just crash and burn in the afternoon. So I've even realized that I've got to put boundaries in how long I spend in the office, because I do burn out after a few hours. And then if I give myself too much of a workload, that's another thing I've learned recently, that get up early, but know the window that I've got available to actually get things done, and then go do something else with my time. So learned a lot about that too.
Because before you were doing a day at work, coming home, trying to do quotes.
In the afternoon. It's so deflating to come home after a big day and jump in the office and be there till dark. Till late at night.
Yeah. So you, it sort of sounds then that you acknowledge that you, like, especially in that instance, which a lot of blokes are going to relate to, and ladies as well, go, oh, that's us, that quoting at night, book work, it's horrible, and exhausting. So you in setting boundaries for yourself around time, what decisions have you made about when book work gets done?
Yeah, just the structure of the day. So we've got that designated day every week where I'm up early, I'm in the office, and even now deciding that instead of that being a day where I'm just in the office all day, I'm in the office till a certain point, but then I spend the afternoon with Raine and Max. Yeah. So the day's structured that way where I can do what I need to do in the morning, and I can spend my time efficiently doing that, and then I'm available in the afternoon. Earlier,
go to the gym,
or I can also spend some time go to the gym, which is important. I think the biggest challenge is you try to be everywhere at once, and then you're often nowhere really. If you structure your time and you focus on what's in front of you solely, and then move on to the next thing, it seems to be a lot more valuable.
So you've got a bit more organised by the sound of it.
Yeah. Just try to break away from that attitude of just try and get it all done.
Yep. Get your priorities right. So Raine, what have you noticed around some of this stuff that Mitch has implemented as far as managing and structuring his time? Is he more present? Like, what have you seen?
Before, when he was trying to do his paperwork after work, because when he gets tired, he gets grumpy. So that's better. Now he can just come home from work and relax, and just like, especially now we have Max, like he can help like with Max in the evenings, and
it's so much better getting home in the afternoon than it is at night, because he goes down around 7:30. So if I don't get home till 6:30, I get like the worst part of his day. But if I get home and it's still light, 4:30, he's all smiles and laughing, and he's yeah.
And so many blokes that we've met, whose perhaps children are more grown than yours, always say to us, I missed most of their childhood kind of thing, because I'd be coming home at 6 o'clock, they'd be doing the bath thing or having their meal, and then they go off to bed. So having Max has been a catalyst by the sound of it too, to go, whoa, no, I'm not going there, I'm not missing that. That's a priority, or?
Yeah, I feel like it's just forced us to make sure that everything is structured, so we don't, we're not able to move from one thing to another anymore. It has to be more designated time.
Cool.
Designated time for what's in front of us. So if I go to work in the office, I'm in the office, and if it's family time, it's family time.
I love that. So when asking that question around what you choose for yourself and for your family, you've really gone, no, this is a non-negotiable now. I'm not prepared to jeopardize that.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, go you. There'll be so many wives going, see, can't you be like me? But it's taken work, hasn't it, Mitch?
Oh, like a lot of stress, a lot of when you really care about the work you do, sometimes you can just be thinking about what's going to be happening on a job, what's happening with a customer, and it can keep you up at night. So yeah, restructuring how I manage customers' expectations, how I'm talking to them, how I'm spending time with family, seems to be improving things across the board.
Okay, what a great segue. So what have you done in order to do all of that you just expressed? Manage expectations. Walk us through what's worked well as far as setting boundaries with clients.
One of the things that would happen would be if a customer was able to, micromanage us, or we weren't setting boundaries, then they would be reaching me outside of hours. And then if I was late at night, it would literally keep me up, ticking it over, how I'm going to resolve this one, because it'd be hard for me to switch it off. We do walkthroughs. So we do a walkthrough a week. And the benefit with the walkthrough is it's an opportunity for customers to bring their questions to the table. But it's also a way of designating time for me to answer all their questions and it to be within work hours. And that seems to be really helping. I have been called out if I'm a bit slack and I don't insist on the walkthroughs and I don't make the time for it every week. They start making their own times, and it'll be when it suits them and not necessarily us.
Unreal. So the expectations are made like of the relationship you're going to have with the client are made up early by the sounds of it. Sort of, you know, you can expect that you're going to have a walkthrough per week. That's your opportunity to talk to me and get your questions answered. So save them for that time.
Absolutely.
And, you know, that's gold that you've made that time. So how much time do you reckon that saved you in doing that process?
It does save time, because I think when I think about a project, if we go into work, it's like every fleeting moment there could be a thought, I'll go out and I'll talk to Mitch. And it's not so much that, it's more the fact that it's affecting my productivity. So if I'm not focusing on getting their job done and I'm answering questions and I'm getting caught in a tangent of entertaining whatever the thought was, it does just creep in and it adds up really, really fast.
So really good, that productivity part of it, Mitch, you've nailed there. So because a lot of tradies would also say their productivity is interrupted by phone calls or, you know, customers or that type of thing. What sorts of other strategies have you implemented to kind of put boundaries around your productivity?
Well, there was a situation that happened recently where I was unavailable, but I was on site. I was actually in one of our coaching sessions and customer was trying to reach out to me and I was unable. And when I returned back to the site, I could tell that he was a little bit busy with his own day, and that was his opportunity to catch up. So when we saw each other next, I said, I'd really love to be available whenever you reach out. Whenever you have questions to ask, and that's why we need to do the walkthrough. So when would you like to book a walkthrough? And that really helped. And I've noticed since then, it's actually changed and shifted things a little bit. It's like, no, you guys are working. It's all good. We'll save it for Friday.
Excellent. So you're stage managing the clients, going, okay, well, because people do, especially for you, you're working in their yards. So you're right there in front of people's faces, which is like, oh, I know that if someone was doing my landscape, I'd be out there pottering around. But it's put that firm structure in that says our process is this is what you can expect. I'd love to, and I love how you position that. I'd love to be able to answer all your questions, but it's going to obstruct my capacity and ability to do your job. So how about we just get that meeting in? So, and
it was really quite polite to say it. Like it didn't ruffle any feathers. I think he probably respected us more for it.
So this is interesting, Mitch. I want to go there if we can. So when you were coming up with your processes and systems around sales, was there fear about saying no or redirecting the customer to do things your way? How did you feel when you were coming up with the process? Were you worried?
There it is, because it seems, it does seem a little bit left field. Like there's these traditional methods of, they can just reach out anytime and, you know, whatever the questions they might have.
Always right, all that rubbish.
That stuff, yeah. And it's actually not that. I've found that, the whole sales process has actually shifted my mindset in the sense that now they seem to appreciate it. They feel that there's a bit more care. We're getting the information we need, so we're giving them value, and they feel like they're, I guess that we're more attentive. We're not just saying, yeah, no worries, yeah, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. We're saying we need to get this information of you so we can help you best.
So by collecting that information, are you finding that are your clients better? Tell us about your process a bit and why it works.
It's certainly weeding out the tire kickers. I think back maybe 12 months ago before we really dove into the sales process, and we were taking on customers that we didn't need. And then we were also taking on variations for those customers that we didn't need. And I was just saying yes to them all. And it was a job, it needed to be done. It was going to look nice, but I just didn't want to be there.
Yep. And what did you hear about them of an evening, Raine?
He'd get on the phone on his way home from work, and it'd just be,
these
guys are doing this and have done this, and
debrief.
I was the sounding board for all the issues that were coming up.
So it could be any. It could be any. It could have been a number of things. So it could be a personality, a clash. It could also be just the style and taste of what they were after, and realizing that we weren't necessarily a right match in that way too. So the sales process that we've got now really helps me understand where they're at, what they're after, what their ideal project looks like, and then what their expectations are if they're going to be pushy. If they're looking for someone to start tomorrow, and if they're quite pushy at the start, that really shows how they'll be throughout the whole project.
So you're filtering your clients based on a number of things. So you've put some boundaries in on who we do and don't work with.
Yep. Time frames of when their expectations are for the job to be started, budget, the scope of work, to make sure we're in such a visual trade. I need to love what I do. I need to be able to be creative with what I do. So I need to make sure that those customers line with that as well. And I think that's the other thing that was a hard one to shift. You just expect that you need to work for any customer, but you don't. You can actually just select the customers that you like. And there is
what happened that you had that shift, Mitch? Like, what happened that you went, oh, it's actually okay for me to not take on all the customers?
Well, I think, remember when we did a fair bit of time on our sales process, and we understood a bit more about what our customers thought of us, and that we realized the ones that had so many great things to say,
we did,
they all had a very repetitive theme.
We did the USP. So I actually rang a bunch of clients and got feedback from them, which was really eye-opening. And what matched up with that were all the clients that Mitch loved working with had great feedback, and the one that he didn't like working with, that he complained to me about, had bad feedback.
Right.
Or just not the type of feedback that you'd want. Not bad feedback, but just feedback that would make you think, what was I doing at that project?
It was just such stark contrast. Like 7 people had glowing reports, and this one person was like, oh.
And that was our least enthusiastic project. We dragged our heels there every day.
Isn't it interesting? So it was very reflective in the customer outcome, wasn't it? Because it might have been that it was aesthetically beautiful, the client paid it, nothing really was out of sorts, but because there was a misalignment in your vision for your business and what you love, the client actually would have felt that, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and just that little disconnect in personality perhaps as well. So that's great, Raine. So you actually went as far as gathering feedback in order to work out your ideal target market. Is that what you did?
Yeah, we had a bunch of questions, and I just rang them.
And that was so good. They were all more than happy to take the time to sit down with Raine and answer the questions, and then we were able to gather like a theme from those customers.
So from that, you built your ideal target market and really got firmer around the boundaries and the types of clients? Or
I think for me, it just gave me the confidence that I realised that we weren't just average guys at what we do. We were quite, we had high standards. We held ourselves in high standards of like what we try to provide. And that if we just select those customers, there'll be a greater abundance of those customers. But if we let the ones slip in that we don't want, and because I've been doing it for so long now, I do usually get those red flags, and I would just take them on before and be like, oh, it's all right, I'll make it work. But it's honestly not worth making it work.
Good. So there is an element of sort of that gut feel, isn't there? It's and people, when we ask clients, okay, you're complaining about this client quite a bit. When was the time you realised they were the wrong client? And nearly every tradie can tell me when that is. And I go, okay, so why did you take them on? Because you knew way back there, because your spider senses were telling you something was off. Why did you do it? And it's just because of fear, I think, most of the time.
It is, yeah. It's you don't want to say no, because that could mean that you'd been put in a quiet state of work. But in all the years I've been doing this, it's not something that happens to us. There's always an abundance of work, and every good project that we love being on grows as well. And it might grow within that first stage, but then it could also lead to other stages in the future. And the more available I am to invest into those customers that I love working for, the better the relationship, the bigger the project becomes. If I'm spread too thin and I'm taking on jobs that my heart's not in, I'm not focusing on the things that I really love.
Unreal. So how many phone calls are you getting on the way home from work now, Raine, about complaining about customers?
Not about customers.
No, we have learned.
It's more just like talking through.
So now you're using that space just to talk about business rather than about things that you're unhappy about?
We have dabbled in the working for builders, working underneath the builder to carry out a landscape project, and we've realised that's possibly not for us.
Yeah.
We are in a space where I believe we need to be working direct to the homeowner. It's too visual of a trade. There's too many opportunities to change the course along the way. And there's just too many people there to please if it's set up that way.
And Mitch struggled with working under a builder. You have to go through the builder, not through the client. And Mitch loves talking to the client.
Yeah. I remember that conversation with Jose actually in the early days. And she said, oh, Mitch has worked out today how much he loves working with the clients. And I was like, oh, cool. So what does that mean now? And she said, oh, well, he's going to redivert his energies now into that part of the business rather than other parts. So it does make a big difference when you can nail the things that you enjoy in business too, or the parts of the trade.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to have like a balance of projects. We love the bigger projects, and the smaller ones are great to fill the gaps. But I think I've learned in the recent months too, there has to be a limit of how many small jobs we have on the go at any time. It's nice to have them to fill gaps, but my heart isn't necessarily in those projects. And I caught myself out recently with that as well. We took on a small one, and then they asked us to do some work that I knew nobody would want to do. And the Good Bloke Syndrome kicked in, and I said, I will help you there. And halfway through, I thought, this is the worst idea ever. What am I doing this for?
But it's just that little tap on the shoulder for you then, isn't it, to go, okay, so I set a boundary there and I crossed my own line on that boundary, and I said, yes, I was a good bloke, too good a bloke. Was probably better to say no. So, and I think that's the thing, again, people, this is an ongoing process, isn't it? You've got
to be so quick to catch yourself. Yeah.
Oh, and because we can easily go back into a pattern. It can also depend on the amount of work or cash flow as well, especially if the small jobs are the things that cash flow you a bit. So it's always interesting to consider, what I love, and do you go through your same sales process for small jobs, Mitch?
No, and that's something that we really go the extra mile, and our customers signing up for a large project got a lot of value out of us in the early stages, right through. But in the early stages, I do think we really educate them through that whole process, so they become so passionately involved. And it's funny, there was a little bit of a learning too, where the project would get to a point where they'd start to drop off a bit, and I'd think, oh, is everything okay? But it'd just be because the trust was there. I've reeled them in, and then now they're just like, you guys just do your thing.
Beautiful. So have you found then, by having that, like, and again, sticking to a sales process is about boundaries too, isn't it? Because
Absolutely, yeah.
if you waver from that, you'll either take on the wrong people, or you'll lose a job that you really like because you didn't stick to the process, or that sort of thing. But it sounds like it's saving you time, effort, and energy right throughout the project once you've sold them too, because you've stuck to the system.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the project is, there's more communication done up front. It's a clearer journey of how we're going to get to the end. So there's less headaches that arise through the project. We try to cover as many variables as possible. And I think there is that's another good bloke syndrome, or just a tradie behavior that I've had to try to break. Trying to avoid the hard conversations early. It is so much better to have them at the start than it is to have them halfway through.
Wow. So give me an example of where that's sort of been a benefit to you to have a hard convo up the front.
It could be anything, not fixing prices on things that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
It could be variables due to weather delays, project issues. We've got unforeseen. Yeah, another big one at the moment is all the freight problems that we're having at the moment, trying to educate customers on the uncertainty of price rises. And there was one recently where I had a large amount of stone for a project, and I've got a price list, and they're always updating me with the new and latest one. And I just reached out to my rep and said, I just need you to send me the quote on this product for the delivery charge. And when he sent me the quote, I wasn't really looking for the price and the material. I already knew what it was, but they'd had a price rise a couple of days earlier, and the difference was like $8,000. And
wow.
If I hadn't checked in on him just to see what that cost was and went off their last price list, I would have had a really awkward conversation. So yeah, boundaries around that with customers, but also just knowing how important that side of things are. Yeah,
absolutely. So and I think too, what you guys do well is you have that budget chat right up the front.
Yeah, budget's huge. I like that was another hard one. I would feel uncomfortable approaching a customer to find out their budget. People get a little bit nervous telling you what they're prepared to spend, because what if you just say, well, yeah, that's about what your project will cost, and they can't see the value. So we've found that ranges work really well. I like to get to know the customer a little bit before we put them through that form to get that information. So there's a little bit of warmth in the relationship, but that information will allow me, or that budget will allow me to look at their project, look at their property, have a look at some photos, see what they're prepared to spend, and then see what they're actually looking to get done. And I can see if they're on the right page. So we've got some good formulas that help us work that out.
Beautiful. And it is that customers are worried, but equally we can waste a lot of time quoting if they're not transparent about budget too. So that's, do you think you've saved time in that space, like quoting, now that you're really clear about who you do and don't quote for?
Yeah, I think if I think back to projects where I just go in and I'd just be hoping that they're going to accept the quote, and that I've created a good enough relationship with them, and that I'm within the ballpark of what they're prepared to spend. It's a really unnecessarily anxious way to be in business. Like, if you can get that conversation out of the way early around their budget, and have the hard chat, they're actually more appreciative than not. And that's all some customers want to know, whether
they're looking
they're in the ballpark.
Yeah, they're looking for certainty, aren't they?
But if you spend hours quoting a job, and then they take a 2-3 week turnaround and they get the quote, they hold you accountable for it being well out of their budget.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of frustration then from the customer that it's, oh shit, we waited all this time and it's twice what we're expecting to spend.
Yeah. Wowee. So how's life changed since you've decided that boundaries are important to you?
Oh, I'm quoting a lot less.
Awesome. Oh, yeah. Gents, listen up to that, quoting a lot less. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because quoting sucks. All through my early years of business, that was the last thing I wanted to do. I just wanted to be on the tools. Being in the office, spending hours and hours quoting a job to maybe only land half of them can be pretty depressing.
Absolutely.
So now doing,
We had
now it's shifted.
Yeah.
We're just, sorry, bad connection. Now it's shifted to, since we've got a good process there, the ones we're quoting, we're winning.
You're winning them, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, isn't it? Because people think, oh, my conversion rate's going to go down if I put all these boundaries in around how I work. But you find that you quote less and you win more because the structure's there for you and it looks after you, the process.
Yeah. And
by the time the clients have gone through the process and Mitch has been communicating with them, they want to work with him.
Yeah.
Because he's put the time in.
Yeah.
So then the price becomes less
important. It's not about the number anymore. It's about that they feel that they've got like a business owner and a tradie that cares.
Oh, that is absolute gold right there, because there's so much of the pushback that we get from trades business owners is, I have to quote everything because there's not enough work, or all the customers care about is price. What you've just said there just obliterates that. They're looking for a difference, and what comes from what you guys have worked on so well is that point of difference is true customer service. It's trust. They trust you by the sound of it.
Yeah, and I can't I can't fault the process. It works so well, and to have learned that through coaching allows us to use it, and we upkeep it, and we gain that time back.
Amazing. And so from a time perspective, by being really much more firm with your boundaries, you've got a lot of time back, have you, in the last year or so? Or
I think I used to our week would be 5 days a week on site, and then I might do a mixture of site meetings and work in the office on a Saturday, but then I'd always be in the office on a Sunday.
How's it look now?
I don't do Sundays anymore. No. There's always a lack of an alarm clock. I might turn on the computer to have a look at something for a moment, but that's it, and it's not very often. So
what about your evenings before you did this stuff?
It would be just on site. I'd just be more, because I would have it be under so much pressure to try to get onto, or the pressure that I would put on us to get to the next step and to the next job, that I would get caught up staying on site longer than I needed to or should have.
Wow.
Yeah.
They got your night times and weekends back by the sound of it.
Yeah.
How good. And now little Max, who was with us at the shindig on the weekend, oh my goodness, the most divine little human on earth, was such a trooper, so beautiful. And now you've got all this time, now you're a new dad to spend with your family. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's unreal. He's the best. He's a great age now. Like, I can hang out with him and lay on the floor and play with all of his toys, and he's so purposeful with everything he does now. It's awesome.
He's a little gem, and you've got to say you've got a pretty good support in Raine next to you too. She's an absolute ripper. I
do. Yeah, we level each other out, and I feel like
we're complete opposites.
Yeah.
We know. In the best way possible. We love it.
But yeah, I think that the walkthroughs and the sales process, and weeding out those unwanted customers, those two things alone have saved so much stress.
And your office day, by the sound of it.
Yeah.
Amazing work, guys. We're very proud of you. You've done an amazing job, and it was so great to meet you in the flesh on the weekend. And yeah, for anybody who wants to learn more about Mitch and Raine's amazing business, certainly look them up. They're pretty impressive, and you'll get a bit of a taste of how to run a pretty successful landscaping business that's only getting better and better. We're so excited for you guys. So congratulations, and thanks so much for spending time with me on the podcast today.
Thank you, Kat. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thanks, guys.